Data Analytics. I am your host, Professor Raghav Uday Kiran. In this video, I will describe the process to create transactional databases. The outline of my presentation will be as follows. First, I will describe what is a transactional database. Then I will describe the rules to be followed to create a transactional database. And then I will give some examples on how to create transactional datasets. So in the first example, I will explain how the sales data can be modeled as a transactional dataset. Next, I will describe the application where data from multiple sensors can be converted into a transactional database. Finally, I give a small demo on how to create a transactional database. Coming to the definition of what is a transactional database, so the you have to keep in mind that transactional database is the basic format. All other datasets or databases formats we generate are the extensions of a transactional database. In this database, every transaction represents a row in a file. Then, when we say a row or a transaction, it means a collection of elements or items or words. We have to keep in mind that duplicates cannot happen in a transaction. Every word or element in a transaction has to be unique. If your data set has duplicates, please remove them when you are converting into a transactional database. Most important, you have to keep in mind that transactional databases only capture data. They will not capture metadata. If you want to know what is data and what is metadata in the context of pattern mining, please check the previous video. Now, if you want to create a transactional database, how do we create? What are the rules we have to follow? The rules are very simple. So, when we create a transactional database, we have to keep in mind that each row is a transaction. A transaction cannot span multiple rows. Okay. Next, elements in each row must be separated from one another with a separator. The separator can be a space, it can be comma, it can be tab space. For algorithms in PAMI, we use tab space as the default separator. Then duplicate elements are not allowed in a transaction. And then elements in the transactional database can be integers or strings. If you have floats, we treat them as strings. Okay. Next one, for the transactional database, every transaction has a transactional identifier. In our algorithms, we do not consider transactional identifier sorry, transactional identifier, because that information is not needed and it can be collected while scanning the data. Now, coming to the examples on how to create the transactional database. First, let us go with the sales data. So imagine there is a supermarket which is selling items, okay, like bread, jam, butter, and so on. Okay, various customers are coming to the supermarket and then they are buying some items. Each item can be purchased any number of times and then they are paying the amount and they are leaving. So this purchase data is called sales data. In this sales data, we have data, okay, and then metadata. Metadata is nothing but the data that describes about the data. Okay, so we have it. So when we are creating a transactional database, we completely disregard the metadata. We only consider the data. Once we have this data, we simply convert it into a tabular format, okay, for each customer. So for each customer we group the items he has purchased and then we convert a transactional database. Please note that if a same customer or a same person is making multiple purchases, we treat each purchase as a separate customer, okay, because we are not capturing the person's information in this data format. Now, because the row numbers are continuous, to save storage space and processing time, we can remove the identifiers and only create the transactions with the purchase of the items. So this is how we can convert the sales data into a transactional database. Now we will discuss another. In the previous example, we have taken the mm, non-numeric data and we have converted into a transactional database. That was much easy to understand. But many times in, okay, or in many real world applications, our data is numeric. So we collect data from multiple sensors. If we have such data, then how do we convert the transactional database? That we are going to cover. So to cover this topic, I am taking the application called AEROS. So AEROS stands for Atmospheric Environmental Regional Observatory System. This system was deployed by the government of Japan to measure pollution, especially PM 2.5 values throughout the Japan. Okay, the location of the sensors can be seen with the red marks. So the sensors in this sensor network generate data at hourly intervals. Okay, so you can see here on a particular day at a particular time the sensors S1 to Sn are recording different levels of PM 2.5 values. Okay, we have this data set. So in this data set we have timestamp information and sensors information. The data collected by sensors is only needed for us. So what we do is we remove the timestamp information and then we only gather the information of the sensors. Okay, this data is non-binary. So what we try to do is we try to binarize the data. So how do we binarize? We can use several approaches. For instance, we can use domain knowledge. Okay, as you can see in this table, the values greater than 35 are unhealthy to the user. So using the threshold value of 35, what we can do is we can binarize the air pollution data into the binary format. Okay, one represents that the value of the sensor is more than the threshold value, and 0 represents the value less than the threshold value. Okay, in this example we have taken greater than or equivalent to, but we can use multiple conditions. Less than also we can take, not equal to also we can take. Only thing is we need to convert the numeric data into a binary data set. Once we have this binary data, we can convert this data set into a transactional data frame, okay, into transactional database, and we can get the final transactional database. So this is how we can create a transactional. This data set can later be given as an input to the pattern mining algorithms to discover interesting types of patterns hidden within them. Now we now provide the demo of how to create a transactional database. Let us take the supermarket example itself. So let us say I want to create sales data. Okay, how does it look like? So each row represents a transaction where elements in a transaction have to be separated with a separator. Very simple. So let us say bread. I am using tab space as the separator. Next, that bar x bread x that bar x that bar bread jam cheese. So in this way we can create the transactional databases. So once we save it, we finish it. That's all on how to create the transactional databases. If you like our video, please give a thumbs up, share it to your friends, and subscribe to our channel. And if you want to know more on how to create the transactional database, click on the please check the link provided below. Thank you.